Good morning, everyone. How you doing today? Well, I made a killing today. I got 10 of these 4-foot 2x4s from Home Depot in the bargain bin. Now, I don't need all these, but I picked them up anyways because I can use them. And down below, I've got some 4-foot by 2-foot wide 3/4 inch plywood for $1 a piece. And those will be for the door. Well, over here, you can see that I put some plywood up here, but it was warm the other day, so I was able to paint it. Of course, this latex paint does nothing to protect it. Not this particular one anyways. And I paint them on the flat and then nail them up, but it's getting too cold right now to paint. Here, I put this up as I said, pre-painted, and put aluminum paint in here because for now when the water drips down here, you don't want it to get on the edge, so you want to kind of like prevent the wood from delaminating. So I just sprayed it with some aluminum paint. Over here in the far corner, you can see down at the lower part of the wood, the last 1.5 feet is painted with aluminum paint because until I can get that roof sealed, water's going to be coming down out of here onto the floor, and it'll creep up underneath, and we don't want that plywood to get ruined with water on it. So I painted that with aluminum, and also the edges over here. I got to unload the truck, get these supplies over here, and do some work on it. I may not be able to pre-paint these plywood panels because it's too damn cold. It's only about in the upper 30s right now, and I sure as hell can't paint right now. I'll probably have to paint them after I get them on the building. I'm supposed to get some mild weather tomorrow in the 50s anyways. And if that's the case, I can do the painting tomorrow. If you take a look here, the plywood, you notice, only comes up to this height. Now if I use full 4x8 sheets of plywood, there would not be a problem. I would make the joist proper, you know, so that they come out evenly. Wouldn't have to add these, but I'm going to add a piece of 2x4 in here and in here, so that this piece of plywood will be mated to the one coming up there, and it won't be let's have to bow out, because this here is slightly bowed. You can see the rocking of this 2x4 here, very slight. So we're going to put a piece in here. I've got a lot of these short pieces left over here. And we'll just nail it right in here, and then the other piece comes down from the top and comes down to here, and it'll be nailed in here. So this will be put inside. Now, if you take a look on the inside here, this is basically how it's going to be. You know, of course I have to cut these to the proper length. I have a lot of these short pieces, so it'll just be nailed in here, you know. And the same on this side here, so that I can put the other piece that comes from up here down here, and then I can nail them together. I just don't want to rely on the two pieces coming together, because if this bottom one is sticking out more than the top one, water's going to catch on this, and we don't want that, because you're going to get some drippage from the drip edge of the roof, because it only sticks out a inch and a half, because I'm using 1/2 inch plywood on the sheathing. So this is how I'm doing it, and what I'm going to do is nail this in here and nail this over to here. What I do is using this as a nailer, so when the next piece comes down, this will not be bowed out. This one here's got a little bit of a bow out, so if I didn't put these in here, you'd have this piece sticking out just a little bit, and the other part, the plywood coming flush from here, may sit back here about 1/4 inch or so, and then that's going to not only look like hell, it's going to catch water. We don't want that. Okay. Well, as you can see, I've got the pieces nailed here, and this nailed to this. I got to put another nail over here yet. Put number 12s in here. Number 4 is actually using 4s. This is 1/2 inch plywood. Actually, it's a little less than 1/2 inch. And this way it gives us a nailing surface for the other piece to come down and mate to it. So we got to do is work on that end down there, and of course we got to do this area through here. Well, I painted this aluminum paint there. When the water gets on it, it just beads up so that the wood won't take in water. So I just do the edges on it until I can paint it properly. So as you can see here, I got ready to put the plywood up. I can't do the redwood stain because it's way too cold today. It's only about 40 right at the moment. So you can see where I put these in here, like I did here. So we're gonna have to cut a piece for here. We got that piece right there is gonna go here, 24 inches. I had to put another joist in here because when I made these things up, I made it 24 inches from here to here, and I didn't allow for this. So this is why I'm no carpenter. So we just put another 2x4. I got a whole bunch of them. I picked up 10 of them today, 50 cents a piece. So, and they're 48 inches, so they fit perfectly in there. So we'll put the other piece in here and that, and then we'll work on the upper part. Now this is the plywood we're using. Exposure 1, I have no idea what that means, but it's 32/16 of an inch thick. This is the stuff that I picked up at Home Depot, 50 cents a sheet. And that's what I'm using over here. Nailing a little bit on this in a couple places here. Alright. Now there's aluminum paint on here, keep the edges from getting wet and separating. We don't want no problem with the wood. And over here, you can see, we had to cut a piece out. We did this yesterday, off camera of course. Next step we're going to do is we're going to go from here all the way up. Now we still got to put the roofing on. So these videos, when we put them up on YouTube, may not be in order. So today we're working on the walls, and we're going to have to temporarily lift this up so that I can put this sheathing all the way up. What I got to do is lift back the tarpaulin here temporarily. You know, I put these back after so I can get up underneath there. And as you can see, I got to cut the plywood. This is 24 inches here, and I got to cut out for the rafters, so she'll go right up into the bottom of the roof sheathing. And so what I got to do is to unhook all this here and just roll it back up onto the roof and clip it temporarily, and I'll put it back down afterwards because there is no 30-pound felt on the roof yet, but there will be. Now, looking at the trusses and the header here, you're probably saying, well, why didn't I double it up like here? Well, this was made in sections, of course, and of course I had to piece this, so in order to keep it straight, I had to use extra wood. But yes, I could have used a double header up here, you know, double 2x4, but it's a shed, it's not a house. And the width of this is only 7 feet, or approximately 7 feet, within a couple inches one way or the other. You don't really need it. It's a shed. It's not a house, and it's going to outlast me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the piece of plywood. Actually, I don't have to really cut too much. I have to cut the length, and then I have to cut for these two rafters here. And we'll proceed to cut that, and then we'll put some paint on the edges of the plywood and then put it up. Well, I got the piece of plywood notched out, cut the proper length, but before I put it up I want to paint the edges. And I ran out of aluminum paint, so my local hardware store had some old stock of some oil-based Thompson's water seal. It isn't the color I want, but I'm going to paint over it with the latex, this redwood stuff over here, which does nothing for protecting the plywood. More of a cosmetic than anything else. But this I got for $3 a gallon. He just wanted to get rid of it. It's oil base. It's old stock. And I experimented a little bit with it, and it doesn't seem to dry very well. That's always been my problem with old paint, oil-based paint that just doesn't want to dry. But it's going on the edges of this plywood, and it'll be nailed up there, and then maybe in a month or so, we get some nice sunny days, I'll paint over it with the redwood. Now, this is the color of it. Going on the wood here, it's almost a match of the wood. It kind of looks like baby diarrhea color, isn't it? But anyways, it's only going to be for the edges, and then when I get it up there, I might put a coat on the face of this. It's the same stuff that I used here. I just went over the silver paint. But you see, it almost looks like the wood. It's just mainly to protect the plywood, so I want to just put a coat on here anyways. You can see where I did a little here. And then I'll take this redwood and just go over the whole thing. The redwood is not oil-based, it's latex, and this is put on several days ago. I can take a wet cloth. This is bare wood now I put this on. And I can take a wet cloth and I can wipe it, and it'll literally come off like kids' watercolor. I haven't seen a latex paint that wouldn't do that. The only one that doesn't do that is the Glidden semi-gloss paint like I got here. That won't do that, even though that's latex. So we'll mix up the baby diarrhea. Now you have to take the colors that they have, and they only had this, and they had gray. I figure this is close to a match that I can get. But they call it cedar tone, and I thought cedar tone would be kind of like a redwood. They wouldn't open it up for me. I mean, they sell it for $3 a gallon just to get rid of it, and he's not going to take the time to open it up and check the color for me and everything else. I can't blame him. They did shake it up for me though yesterday, but I'm just stirring it up a little bit here today. And I'm just going to coat the edges, nothing more right now. And of course, naturally, I'm going to get paint on me putting this up. You think I'm going to wait until it dries before I put it up? You're very much mistaken. When I do things, I like to get them done. Probably don't need to be painted up on the top up here because it's not going to be a problem. The main concern is the bottom part, where the plywood come together. Because what you don't want is water to settle on the bottom when it comes off the roof. And get into the edges of the plywood. Now, as I said, this is called Exposure 1. I don't know what that means. I'm sure there are guys out there that are in the construction business would probably know what Exposure 1 is. I'm hoping that it's for exterior use, but I'm sure it's, of course, it's not pressure treated. I wouldn't expect it to be. Very rarely do they have pressure treated wood over there for 50 cents a piece. Or to get technical, 51 cents a piece. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over to the site now. Kind of messy, but you know, can't be helped. clean up my hands here. I got paint all over me. I hate to handle a camera. And nailing it over to here now. With that nailer that I told you about. That makes it nice and flush, so they're both even. That's what you want. These are number 4s because you don't really need anything more than that. This plywood's almost a half-inch thick. Get this finished, I'm going to just go over the top of it. You see, this paint really doesn't make much difference as far as the noticeable. It doesn't stick out too bad because it's almost the same color as the wood. Not all this plywood is exactly the same thickness. Some of it's a little thinner, and some of it's almost a half-inch. What I got up on the roof here is just a hair under a half-inch. I don't know, there's a fraction thereof or whatever. I don't know why they can't keep wood thicknesses standard. Years ago, we used to have 1/4-inch plywood, 3/8 plywood, 1/2-inch, 5/8, and 3/4. Now you got all these mongrel sizes in between there. I don't know. I never claimed to be a painter, and you can see I can't paint on the vertical or the overhead. I have done it on the porch, but I use a pad. And this stuff is running all over, but I'll just wipe it off. I'm going to be painting this over anyways. And with that redwood. Well, I got another piece here, pre-notched and so forth, ready to be put up. So the same procedure. Paint the edges, make sure this fits perfectly first. And then after we paint the edges, nail it up. Well, like it or not, I'm going to have to not only measure out the wood and everything like I usually do, but I'm going to have to paint these on the flat and bring them over. I'm not going to wait all day for it to dry and put it in place because I can't paint on the vertical. I get paint all over, it runs all over. I can do trim and stuff like that, but when I paint these walls, you didn't see it on the main shed. I use a pad. I think you probably did see it. I use a pad. Those work out good. But I don't want to use, I only got one pad and I use that for the redwood. Well, as you can see, paint them on the flat is so much better. The only reason they didn't want to do that is this damn stuff takes forever to dry and may not dry at all. But look at the coverage. I mean, you paint it on the flat is the best way to paint. Or use a pad. But I don't have an extra pad and I don't feel like messing around with that because I want to get this up today. Maybe you can call me impatient, but when you're in New England, you don't have the weather. It's not like Arizona where it's dry all the time and sunny. We get rain, we get snow, we get cold weather, so I have to work in between, as I said. Raindrops or you get a warm day, we work on a warm day. So we try to get as much done as we can. Because I'm in a hurry to do everything in one day, like I say, the weather, matter of fact, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and Friday. Put my gloves on so I don't get a lot of paint on me. The main thing is to protect this plywood. We'll stick it up there. That's what I like about latex. It dries quick. But latex, at least in the redwood, it's not like years ago you used to get oil-based and it would preserve the wood. This is nothing more than coloring. It doesn't do anything. I don't care what brand you get. If it's latex redwood, it will not protect the wood. And I've bought many brands. I'm ready to put this sucker up here. I'll drop my hammer. Alright, what I've done here is to lift up the tarpaulin temporarily here. Had to measure the angles off the plywood. We're nailing into place. We are not painting this because it's too damn messy. We'll paint it afterwards. It's much easier to paint when these things are laying on a table flat and I can paint them, but it's too damn messy. That paint won't dry, gets all over me, and having a hell of a time with it. So we'll paint it afterwards, paint the edges and stuff like that. So what I'm doing now is after I get this in, I got to put a piece in here, and I might leave this out for now. Simple reason is I'm not done with water up here yet, and if I put a piece of plywood here, water's going to come off, may get behind the plywood. It's bad enough it's running off of here and onto the floor, but I don't want anything coming off of here and getting behind in here too. Not until I can get that roof finished. So right now we're just nailing this into place. So that we can continue on with the project here. I had a little tricky measurement here, you know, 3 or 4 times. It's off camera, of course. The measuring here from here to here is 39.5 inches. From the left side here is 40.5 inches. And the middle is, 40.5, and this is 41. So you have to carefully get these measurements right here. Okay, you can start now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out from here, even with the end of this trim, because it's going to be plywood coming up underneath here. And then I'm going to bend it up so that no water will get behind it. I'll try to just bend this up gently, but don't crack it, and just get it out of the way. I redone the tarpaulin also, pulled it back and pulled it down further over here. I'll have to add it to the clip I got. Alright, as I had mentioned, I cut this back, and we're going to take this other piece of plywood, which is from here to here, will be 23.5 inches. We already angled it, we already set it in there and checked it out, it fits in good. So we're going to put it up in there. This OSB is all wet and rotted out here. So what I did is over here, I don't want to work with that other paint. It is drying, but it's taking a long time. So we're using regular enamel. I just happen to have some black, and I'm just putting it on the wood here in that area where I just showed you for the OSB. So if any water does hit the back side of this, it'll protect it. So that's what this is for. So we're going to go and put this up now. Okay, this part here is wet, and any water that does come down in that corner is going to hit the back side of this plywood. So this paint here will protect it a little. I'm hoping that I can get this valley done and everything up here once I get the materials for the roof. And the weather's, of course, you've got to stay warm. It's in the mid-50s now, and it sure feels good to be able to work. Try to get this thing up underneath the tarpaulin. I want to have the tarpaulin sitting like that. Get that right up in there. This was already measured in there. Try to put a nail in there. Trying to hold this up. Putting a nail in there. Got to be a contortionist. When you're doing this kind of work, you got to be a contortionist. Tell me you have to hold this in. Hold that in right there. Push it hard. Hold that in. Don't let it go until I get a nail in here. Okay, here I go.